Disney's beautifully underrated Treasure Planet film has so much going on. But let's step back and talk about the possibility of James Pleiades Hawkins and Long John Silver being related. Hey guys, I'm Megan, this is The Fangirl, and believe it or not, I have had a lot of people asking me to prove that Silver and Jim are secretly a father and son duo. Before I get too far ahead of myself though, we must recap the film for those who haven't bothered to see it over the past 20 years. So we have Jim Hawkins, who is this delinquent kid that's in trouble with the law all the time, and he comes into possession of a mysterious orb that, ta-da! turns out to be a map to the legendary location Treasure Planet, which is a venue that allegedly stores the loot of 1,000 worlds. And as luck would have it, the only family friend of the Hawkins clan is Dr. Delbert Doppler, and he really wants to finance this exploration to give his name some significant notoriety. And that's what they do. Doppler hires a ship led by Captain Amelia, one of the galaxy's finest spacers. However, Doppler must have paid so much for the captain that he decided to skimp on the crew. And so John Silver and his band of pirates end up manning the ship. At first, no one is certain that Silver is a pirate, especially not after he takes a liking to Jim and becomes the father figure that Jim's been lacking in his life. But true colors slip out soon enough, and Jim ends up on the opposite side of Silver as they fight for the map, unlocking its secrets, and getting to the treasure. And by the end, when Silver should be getting arrested and getting his comeuppance, Jim actually helps him slip away into the unknown. Also, when given the opportunity to run away and live the pirate's life with Silver, Jim turns him down to become a cadet at, what did they call it? Spacer school? I have no idea. I'm sorry. Gap in my notes. But the internet has had this notion that due to a scene that shows Jim's father, Leland Hawkins, essentially running away from home, that Silver himself must be Jim's long-lost daddy. And don't shoot the messenger here, but I'm about to shred that notion apart. First of all, it's true. We never get a really good look at Leland Hawkins, so we don't know his face. However, we do see his body type, and right off the bat, there's not a match here. Silver is a huge character in height and weight, and Mr. Hawkins does not match that physical description. Honestly, he appears to be a military man who's in very fit shape. Oh, and by the way, I did a collab on this topic years ago with Isaac Carlson from Watso Videos, so it was a great video and we uncovered a lot of details on Leland's backstory, so give that theory a look if you please. But even if we consider that Leland had abandoned his son 5 to 8 years prior, going from a healthy-looking male to an overweight cyborg with many modifications is a bit of a stretch at best. Now, second issue, Silver is way too old to be Jim's dad. Canonically, John Silver is 50 in the Treasure Planet movie, whereas Leland Hawkins should be presumed to be in his late 30s to early 40s. Even though we never fully see Leland's face, by his build, the way he carries himself, and the way he fought with his wife Sarah, it is reasonable to assume that Leland and Sarah are roughly the same age. And Sarah is a fairly young mother. So odds are pretty high that Jim was an accidental baby and that forced a young couple together who just were not ready or willing to handle that reality together. And Leland's maturity level, if he were a man in his 20s, might prompt him to peace out without so much as a word to his own son before he left forever. And not that older men can't be that heartless and callous, but the older we get, the more wisdom and regret tends to catch up with us. So Leland being this young man wanting to sow his wild oats and not really caring who he hurt in the process, it tracks a lot better than Leland being a middle-aged man at the time he abandoned his son. Not to mention, as I've said over and over again, Jim's father's name is Leland, not John. Yeah, it is possible that a fake name could have been adopted by a pirate, but we have no proof, evidence, or reason to assume that Silver ever changed his name. So that's unfortunately just one more nail in the coffin for this father-son idea. We also run into the issue that neither Silver nor Jim recognize each other. Point blank, we see Jim's memory of being abandoned, and it's not an infant or like a kindergartner. That kid is 10 to 13 years old. Someone who is that old would not forget their father's face. And even if that were the case and Silver were using a pseudonym, Jim was not using a made-up name. So how do you rationalize that Silver wouldn't realize that Jim was his own son? The father-son theory is illogical and too far-fetched at that point. And before you make up something like, Silver might have lost his memory, again, we have no reason to believe that Silver's mind isn't sharp as a tack. He's been hunting that same orb meticulously for a very long time. Oh, and before you say that Silver could have just pretended not to recognize Jim, then we would have had a moment or a scene on screen where those dots connected in Silver's head. But we don't. There's no glance, there's no look of shame. The only realization moment we get is when Silver pieces together that Jim doesn't have a father. And he doesn't feel bad like, oh no, that's my kid and I left him. He feels bad that this is a decent kid that just needs some guidance to be a fantastic kid. So we don't get a recognition moment on screen because that father-son relationship isn't a thing. At best, it's a mentor-mentee relationship or an adopted father-adopted son thing, but they are not biologically related. And finally, and I don't know how more people don't notice this point more quickly, Silver is a dog. Sure, he's a humanoid dog, but he's still of some mixed canine descent. And Jim does not have a single feature to that regard. And there's never any mention in the movie of people being able to genetically modify themselves into other species. What? That would be crazy. In fact, judging by the end of the movie where Doppler and Amelia have a litter, the Treasure Planet universe uses BoJack Horseman rules where a baby can occur between different species, but it's either parent A or parent B species and no mixed up chimera babies. Brother, it hurts. And even though that could mean that Jim's dad is a dog man and his mother is a human, again, no part of Leland shows us claws or a snub nose or anything to lead us to that type of a conclusion. Seriously, the only thing people ever reference to try and shoehorn this theory into existence is that Silver says, "You lose a few things chasing a dream." Oh, that sounded very Sebastian-esque. That Silver accent is so wonderful and on point, but I just can't do it. You lose a few things chasing a dream. That's what he says. And people infer from that that the meaning is Silver gave up his son, Jim, to go hunt for Treasure Planet. But, dude has literally become a cyborg with a missing arm, leg, and eye. I am pretty confident, as an internet theorist, that this is one occasion where we can take things completely literally. So yeah, Silver lost an arm, a leg, and an eye, not necessarily a son. And if he did, that son was not Jim Hawkins. At the end of the day, Treasure Planet is trying to give us the subtext that family and father figures don't have to be blood relatives. They can be anyone, even the villain of the story. And likewise, just because you're the villain in one person's tale doesn't mean that you're really a bad person. If the cyborg wrote a story about his own life, he'd be the hero giving everything to his journey and evading capture at the end. Silver is interesting and complex and very unique as a Disney villain, but he's not a Disney dad. Let me know what you think though. Have I brought you back to reality and ruined this theory? Or do you have some evidence that I didn't catch to show that Jim and Silver are related? However you feel about the father-son theory, I just want to say that this movie has been delightful to rewatch and critically analyze. And if you haven't seen Treasure Planet or haven't seen it lately, go give it some love on Disney+. It is still a fantastically put together film. I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Fanily. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Fanily and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos, like you, helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members.